I used to think I was doing okay. I was 34, had a decent job, a nice apartment in the city, and a relationship I honestly believed was forever. From the outside, everything looked fine. From the inside, I don't know. I just kept moving, like if I stopped for too long, something would fall apart. Her name was Elena. We met when I was 29 at a friend's birthday dinner I almost didn't go to. She was sitting near the end of the table, quiet, listening more than talking. At some point, someone made a joke, and she smiled in this soft way that made the whole room feel less sharp. I don't remember what we talked about that night. I just remember that when I walked home, I kept replaying her voice in my head. For 5 years, she was the first person I texted in the morning and the last voice I heard at night. She knew how I took my coffee. She knew when I was lying about being fine. She had a way of putting her hand on my back when I was stressed that made everything slow down. We talked about the future like it was already written. A small house someday. Maybe a dog, maybe kids. We never said it out loud too often because saying it felt like it might break something. I thought we were solid. Then one ordinary Tuesday evening, she sat across from me at the kitchen table and said the words that changed everything. I don't think I love you anymore. She didn't cry. She didn't raise her voice. She just said it like she was telling me the weather. And somehow that made it worse. I stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, waiting for the part where she says she was just tired or stressed or scared. But there was nothing. Just this calm, tired honesty that I couldn't argue with. She had already packed a bag. She left that same night. I remember standing in the doorway after she walked out, still holding the glass of water I had poured for her. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I just stood there until the glass started to feel cold. The apartment felt wrong after that. Too quiet, too empty. Her side of the closet was bare. There was a shape in the dust where her shoes used to be. The coffee mug she always used sat on the shelf like it was waiting for her to come back. I stopped sleeping in the bed because it still felt like hers. I just stayed on the couch most nights, staring at the ceiling, listening to the city outside, cars, someone laughing down the street, a door closing somewhere, life keeping going like nothing had happened. People at work asked if I was okay. I said yes, I wasn't. I kept checking my phone, hoping she would message. She didn't, not really. Just a few practical texts about picking up the last of her things. I answered them like a stranger. Some nights I got angry. I replayed conversations in my head and tried to find the moment it went wrong. Was it the trip we cancelled? The nights I came home late? The times I got quiet instead of talking? Other nights I just felt nothing, like someone had reached inside me and switched something off. I started drinking more than I should. Not every day, just enough to fall asleep without thinking too much. In the morning, I would wake up with that heavy feeling in my chest and pretend it was only the alcohol. I avoided places we used to go. I took longer routes home just so I wouldn't pass the cafe where we had our first real conversation. Everything felt connected to her, even the silence, even the way the light came through the window in the afternoon. One afternoon, almost 4 months later, I was walking home from work when it started raining. I didn't have an umbrella. Instead of rushing, I just stood under a tree and let it hit me. And I laughed, not because anything was funny, but because I was still there, still breathing, still somehow standing in the middle of a regular day while my life felt unrecognizable. That night, I did something small. I cooked myself a real meal, not takeout, not cereal, an actual meal. I set the table for one and ate slowly. It felt ridiculous at first, then it felt kind. After that, I started doing small things just for me. I took long walks without my phone. I started writing in a notebook again, something I hadn't done since college. I called my mom more often. I even signed up for a pottery class, even though I was terrible at it and the teacher kept smiling at my uneven bowls. None of those things fixed the loneliness. They just reminded me I was still a person. There was still bad nights, nights where I opened old photos and sat there longer than I should have. Nights where I almost texted her and then deleted the message before I could send it. Healing wasn't clean. It was messy and slow and quiet. Some days I felt stronger. Some days one song would pull me right back. It took almost a year before the pain got softer. I still thought about her. I still missed the version of us that existed in my head. But I stopped waiting for her to come back, and I stopped believing my life only mattered if someone else was in it. One evening last spring, I sat by the same window where I used to feel empty. The light was soft, the apartment was quiet, but this time the quiet didn't hurt the same way. I looked around and realized something simple. I had built a life that didn't need saving. I was still lonely sometimes. I still had days that felt heavier than others, but I was also cooking for myself, walking home in the rain, writing things down, and showing up for a life that belonged only to me, and that was enough. If you're sitting in a quiet room right now, feeling like everything that made you matter just walked out the door, I want you to know this. You are still here, and that is not nothing. Looking back, I don't think the breakup was the only thing that broke me. It was realizing how much of myself I had handed over without noticing. I had stopped asking what I wanted. I had stopped making plans that were only mine. Somewhere along the way, I became a supporting character in my own life. That is a quiet kind of loss, the kind you don't see happening until one day the other person is gone and you don't recognize the space you are standing in. I used to think love meant never being alone. Now I think love also means not disappearing while you are still in the room. There was a night, maybe 6 months after she left, when I almost called her. My thumb hovered over her name for a long time. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to ask if she ever missed me. I wanted something familiar. But I put the phone down. Not because I was strong, I wasn't. I put it down because I knew that if she answered, I would trade all the small progress I had made just to feel less empty for one night. And I was tired of borrowing my worth from someone else's attention. So I sat there instead, in the quiet, with myself. It was uncomfortable, it was lonely, but it was honest, and honesty, even when it hurts, is a kind of beginning. If this story is finding you at a hard point in your life, I hope you hear this part clearly. You do not have to rebuild everything in one day. You do not have to pretend you are fine. You do not have to turn your pain into a lesson before you have even finished feeling it. You can just start with one small thing. Cook the meal, take the walk, write the page, call the person who still cares, sit by the window and let the quiet be quiet. Healing does not always look like strength. Sometimes it looks like staying. Sometimes it looks like not sending the message. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself when every part of you wants to go back to what is familiar. I used to think the end of that relationship was the end of my story. It wasn't. It was the night the lights went out, and it was also the first morning I learned how to find my way in the dark. So if all you can do right now is breathe and get through the next hour, that is enough. You are still here, and that is not nothing. Sometimes I still pass that cafe, the one we used to go to. I don't cross the street anymore. I don't stop and stare either. I just keep walking. That feels like progress. Not the kind people clap for, not the kind you post about, just the quiet kind. The kind where your body remembers a wound, but your feet don't have to obey it. I think that is what surviving looks like for a lot of us. Not a big transformation, not a perfect new life, just ordinary days that slowly stop feeling impossible. If nobody has told you this lately, let me say it. You are allowed to take up space in your own life. You are allowed to become someone without waiting for permission. And if all you have tonight is one still image of the person you used to be and a voice trying to make sense of what happened, that is still a story worth telling. It is still a life in progress, and progress counts.